Welcome to the Liberty and Democracy Podcast. Are you a passionate believer in liberty and democracy? Are you concerned about the growing infiltration of Marxist and socialist ideology in our politics, media, and culture? This podcast was created by a citizen of the United States who was born and raised in Romania, a socialist country in Eastern Europe during the 1970s and 1980s. As more and more members of our youth pivot towards Marxism, socialism, and communism in the United States of America and beyond, now, more than ever, it is important to focus on liberty and democracy instead of the alluring Marxist and socialist trends which, as history repeatedly has shown, lead to repressive authoritarian regimes. Marxism does not lead to utopia either in the United States of America or anywhere else in the world. Let us question governments, policies, and manufactured social progressivism. Let us go back to the times when it was okay for us to agree to disagree.
Welcome to the Liberty and Democracy Podcast. In today's episode, we will listen to Maestro Ceaușescu's ebook, The Fall of California Under Leftist Rule. And now, let's focus on Chapter 1, Calamity of Socialist Policies, including Subchapter, Unraveling the Economic Fabric. Are you ready? Let's begin. Chapter 1, Calamity of Socialist Policies. Unraveling the Economic Fabric. The provoking question. How did the Golden State, once a shining beacon of economic prosperity, become mired in a quagmire of job losses, business closures, and staggering poverty rates? As a native of Romania who fled the oppressive grip of socialist policies, I've witnessed firsthand the devastation they can inflict. Now, with a heavy heart, I see these same malignant forces taking root in the very heart of my adopted home, California. The context. Growing up under the iron fist of communist rule, I vividly remember the endless breadlines, the stifling lack of opportunity, and the hopelessness that permeated every facet of society. The promises of equality and prosperity quickly gave way to empty shelves, crumbling infrastructure, and a populace crippled by the weight of an overbearing government. This was the grim reality that compelled me to seek a better life, a life of freedom and self-determination, which I found in the United States. Now, as I watch the same insidious ideologies seeping into the fabric of California, I can't help but feel a sense of dread. The very principles that I fled, the same ones that devastated my homeland, are being championed by politicians who seem intent on replicating the failures of the past. It is a deeply personal and painful experience to witness the erosion of a once thriving economy, the very lifeblood of the American dream. The problem. California, the economic powerhouse that once led the nation in job creation, innovation, and a flourishing middle class, is now grappling with a crisis of monumental proportions. Businesses are fleeing the state in droves, taking with them the jobs and opportunities that sustained countless families. The unemployment rate, which had once been a mere afterthought, now looms large, leaving in its wake a trail of despair and financial ruin. The consequences of these misguided policies extend far beyond mere statistics. I've seen the human toll firsthand, families struggling to make ends meet, small business owners forced to shutter their dreams, and the once vibrant communities reduced to shadows of their former selves. The very fabric of California's economic and social fabric is unraveling, and the repercussions are far-reaching, affecting not just the state, but the entire nation. Common misconceptions and typical approaches. Remarkably, Even in the face of such overwhelming evidence, there are those who continue to cling to the false promises of socialism and Marxism. They argue that the economic woes of California are merely the result of external factors, such as the COVID-19 pandemic or the inevitable ebb and flow of the business cycle. They dismiss the role of government overreach and the stifling regulations that have strangled the state's entrepreneurial spirit. These apologists for socialist policies often tout the virtues of a social safety net and the need for greater government intervention in the economy. They claim that by redistributing wealth and centralizing control, they can create a more equitable and prosperous society. But their vision is dangerously myopic, blinded by the siren song of utopian ideals that have repeatedly proven to be nothing more than a mirage. My unique approach. As someone who has witnessed the devastating consequences of socialist policies firsthand, I offer a perspective that is grounded in the harsh realities of lived experience. I understand, with a deep and personal conviction, the true cost of these misguided experiments, the shattered dreams, the crushed aspirations, and the systemic erosion of the very principles that made America the beacon of hope for so many around the world. My approach is rooted in the unwavering belief that the free market, tempered by sensible regulations and a commitment to individual liberty, is the surest path to sustained economic growth and prosperity. I advocate for the unleashing of entrepreneurial spirit, the reduction of bureaucratic red tape, and the empowerment of hardworking Californians to chart their own course, unencumbered by the heavy hand of government. Illustrating with examples. The evidence of the failure of socialist policies in California is overwhelming and undeniable. Take, for instance, the case of the once thriving city of San Francisco. Once a hub of innovation and enterprise, the city has become a cautionary tale of the consequences of unchecked government overreach. As the city embraced policies that prioritized income redistribution over job creation, businesses began to flee, taking with them the very jobs and opportunities that sustained the local economy. The result has been a staggering rise in homelessness, with tens of thousands of individuals forced to live on the streets, their dreams of a better life shattered by the cold, hard realities of a system that has failed them. Similarly, the state's disastrous foray into high-speed rail, a project championed by socialist-leaning politicians, has become a textbook example of government inefficiency and mismanagement. Billions of taxpayer dollars have been poured into a project that has been plagued by delays, cost overruns, and a complete lack of practical utility for the vast majority of Californians. Addressing potential objections. I can already hear the objections of those who cling to the false promises of socialism. They will argue that the problems in California are not the result of misguided policies, but rather the consequence of a changing global economy or the inherent flaws of capitalism. They will point to the success of social welfare programs in other parts of the world, conveniently ignoring the stark differences in cultural, historical, and economic contexts. To these critics, I say this: the evidence is clear, unambiguous, and undeniable. The economic woes plaguing California are the direct result of the implementation of socialist and Marxist-inspired policies that have strangled the state's entrepreneurial spirit and crippled its ability to compete in the global marketplace. The solutions lie not in the expansion of government control, but in the empowerment of the individual, the unleashing of the free market, and the restoration of the principles that have made America the envy of the world. A path forward. As California stands at the crossroads of its economic future, it is time for a course correction. We must heed the lessons of history and the cautionary tales of nations that have succumbed to the siren song of socialist utopia. We must reject the false promises of a government-centric approach and instead embrace the power of the free market, entrepreneurship, and the indomitable spirit of the American people. Only then can we begin to repair the tattered economic fabric of this once great state, restoring the hope and opportunity that drew so many to its shores. It is a daunting task, to be sure, but one that I believe is well within our grasp if we have the courage to confront the truth and the conviction to chart a new course, one that celebrates the triumph of individual liberty and the boundless potential of the human spirit.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Liberty and Democracy Podcast. We hope you found today's content interesting, intriguing, and useful. You're invited to join us again, as our episodes appear every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. In the meanwhile, don't forget to stop by our website at www.libertarian.center or our Liberty and Democracy YouTube channel at bit.ly/democracy videos.